Well, everyone, I am thrilled to welcome Jeremiah Zagar, the director of Hustle, to join us tonight. And I just needed to tell you that when I walked in the auditorium to plug in the computer, there was a lot of applause and cheering. People absolutely loved the film. So really happy to have you here to discuss it. And yeah, I've got some questions, but I'd just love to know how you got involved in the project and to hear more about it.
When Mr. called me right in the beginning of the pandemic, he said, "I love We the Animals," which was the film I made before this, and we talked a lot about that for a while. I was living in near my friend who has a farm in Massachusetts, and then he sent me this script. I read it, and 2 years later, here we are. That's the short version.
Fair enough. Was the film always set in Philly, or did you have a hand in bringing it to Philly?
It wasn't always set in Philly, but when I got the script, it was in Philly, and was part of the reason I was interested in making it. Was obviously that I knew the city and I love the city and I'm from the city, and I felt like I could do some justice to what was lacking in terms of specificity.
Well, you did that in spades. The Philadelphia character shines through and through, and it's one of the most Philadelphia movies I've seen, and very, very proud to show it here. And love seeing the city. Even the parts in New York, I noticed, were actually the Comcast building in Philadelphia.
We didn't go to New York to shoot those. We have New York in Philadelphia. We don't need to go to New York.
So, are you a basketball fan?
I am. I'm a Sixers fan. I watch the playoffs, and I try to go to a couple games a year, but I'm not like an Adam Sandler basketball fan who's like, that's a whole nother level.
So what was it like working with all of those incredible players? Was there any stress coming into the shoot, or how did you get used to being around that much celebrity?
They're wonderful. They're just wonderful people. I mean, every single human being in that movie that plays basketball was as humble and sweet as you can imagine, and dedicated to the process. I mean, they worked with our acting coach, Noel Gentile, to varying degrees, over, varying amounts of time. But, they were all really dedicated to the process, and they wanted to be good. And I think they are good because of her, and, because they wanted to be. And I big up to them for trying to do it justice, the process.
Well, I have to say, one of my favorite parts of the film was a lot of the editing on the court, and a lot of the front-on shots, and making you feel like you were in the game. And I also loved the editing in some of the social media scenes that was just like really quick and on the ground. Can you talk about some of the things you had to do to be able to get those shots, and about the editing process to make it as pulse-pounding as it was in the scenes?
Yeah, I mean, there's some elements that are coming together to make all those things work. I mean, we stole those dead-on shots from Raging Bull. The problem with doing it in basketball is that, as opposed to boxing, is that when you have a straight-on shot where somebody's pounding you with boxing gloves, they don't have to move very much. But in basketball, they're moving constantly. So Charlie, our key grip, built what we call the Charlie bar, which was a metal pole that was attached to a belt that stuck out from the players' stomachs. And so the camera operator, could move with the player as they played the game, so they could essentially play against the camera. Every game is different. Every game has a different feel. Every game has a different ethos aesthetically. We also stole that from Raging Bull. And just like put it in basketball. I think if you steal from Scorsese, you're in a good place. And we were essentially trying to do exactly what you said, just bring you into the game. I mean, the final element obviously is Dan Deacon's score, which is so incredible. And we said, this is the perspective of the game from the perspective of the character, whether it was Stanley's perspective or Beau's perspective, whether it's the 5-on-5 and it's, we're watching their beings fall apart as the game falls apart for them, or, we're at the end where it's smooth as butter. Those are two different perspectives, and Dan Deacon's score, follows the ethos of the filmic language and of the character development, and you can get that score now, which is amazing, but he really elevates the film.
Well, it all comes together really wonderfully. That all of those choreographed scenes. Now that you mentioned Raging Bull, it totally makes sense, but it absolutely works.
Stole everything from Raging Bull.
Yeah. So personally, and I think I noted this in my email, I know that hill in Manayunk that you had Beau run up many times. I have cycled it myself, and I know that it's brutal. Certain things like that, can you talk about the process of finding those sites and sort of the scene selections around the city, and how you decided what parts of Philadelphia you wanted to highlight and bring to this film?
Well, so Troy Coffey, who is our location scout and our the head of our locations department, he lives next to my parents on South Street, and he knows the city like the back of his hand, better than me. And so when I would say I want this or I want that, or like this, or like this kind of an on ramp, like the on ramp right next to the Riverview, or like, he would be able to find it, very quickly for me, which was cool. He's amazing. A lot of those elements were in the script and just not sort of fleshed out as much as they needed to be visually. So that hill in Manayunk, for instance, it's only visually interesting for half the hill. After it curves, as you know. And so what we had to do was we had to find another street that he could end the route on. So there's two different streets in two different locations. And that's what makes it really work, is kind of that end run up the stairs a la Rocky, and that last little bit. My wife is staring at me. She's seeing that I'm doing a Q&A right now and wondering why I'm talking to a computer screen. Sorry if I interrupted. I interrupted us.
What would you say was the most challenging aspect of making this film? And this is your first studio big budget film, was that daunting in any way, or was it more just dealing with, say, filming in the age of COVID, which is more threatening?
So the budget for the film, and I won't tell you exactly what it is 120 times the budget for my last film. So if you want to really go home and do the math, you can figure it out. But what I will say is that it's the same thing. It doesn't change. And you think it's going to change. You think it's like that, having more money is going to make things easier or harder, but it doesn't. It's just, can I get my shots? Can I make it through the day? Do all the things that need to click. And it's a challenge every single day. Every day you just pray that you could possibly make it through the day. And then when you're in the edit, you're like, I pray that we can possibly make this movie halfway decent. And then you pray that you could possibly get through the sound mix. I mean, that's how I feel every time. And then I don't know who I'm praying to exactly. I'm not, I'm a religious man. But I'm praying all, every single time.
Do we have a question here? Do you have a question? No? Anyone in the audience have a question?
Yeah, I do.
If you do, come on back. Oh, yeah.
What's next for you?
We're doing a doc series right in the Philadelphia area. It's a little bit of a secret, so I can't tell you, what it is, but it's for Apple. It's for Apple streaming. So buy Apple now so that you can see it.
Thank you.
Hi, I just wanted to give you the classic question for aspiring filmmakers. What advice would you give them?
For aspiring filmmakers, my advice is to have a craft that pays the bills. You know, you figure out what you want to do besides directing, you know, shooting or editing or accounting or massage, whatever it is, because it doesn't pay for a very long time, and you got to figure out how to you know, survive in the intermediate.
First of all, you look just like your dad. I met your dad when he was younger than you, and I've seen you do the documentary on your dad as well, which is just outstanding. How does it feel to have made the next Rocky for Philadelphia, but better? I mean, that was just outstanding, and I think the city can be really proud, and I'm looking forward to you having great success with it. Here's my question. My question.
You have a wonderful voice. You could do voiceover work. Very good. Very like very good quality. Good quality.
I'm ready. I'll give you my phone number afterwards.
You'll hand it to them.
There you go. So, it sounds like you didn't play basketball. And how was it being able to capture it so well? Was that all your assistant folks that could really shoot, you know, film on basketball, or you nailed it so well? My son was a basketball player, and just you caught it so live. Well, I think that, you know, as a filmmaker, that's what interests me, you know, is how to capture images in a way that storytelling. And I think we watched a lot of basketball, Zach and I, and, you know, we felt underwhelmed by the way basketball had been shot in other movies. And we were looking for ways to do it in new and interesting, you know, interesting things with it. You know, we built a little remote control car that, well, we didn't build the car, but we rented the car. Tim Sessler, who was our second unit DP, he ran this little car around the players inside the game. And the ethos was just, how do we get in the game? Exactly like what you said. You know, we had people running with the players. We had that Charlie bar. We had, you know, a rickshaw, which is like kind of like, you know, like what you'd imagine in India, but people pushing a wheeled cart with a camera on it. Whatever we could do to make the audience feel like they were there with the players moving was the, you know, was the key. Thank you. Great.
Hi, thank you so much. The movie was incredible, and I just wanted to ask, you spoke a little bit about the locations before, but how did you choose which basketball court throughout Philly to film in?
Well, some of them I'd walked by, you know, at night when I was a kid, you know, like Pat's and Gino's. That court is so iconic and so much, you know, embedded in my memory and in my mind that I just felt like, okay, well, we should shoot there for this exact game. Some of them were brought to us by Troy. You know, that court in Gray's Ferry right before that game. That's a court I'd never been to before, and when we saw pictures of it, I was like, wow, that's really a special mural and a special court. And we should shoot there. You know, a lot of the larger courts, you know, they fit our needs in the way that the script demanded. You know, so we went and got them. We had an amazing production designer also who would transform the courts for our needs. So if, you know, all those courts that are in other countries are actually right here in Philadelphia, and we're just transforming them to fit the country's aesthetic.
Oh, it's so cool. Thank you.
I'm glad you liked it. Thank you.
Hi, how you doing? I was wondering how you found Bo Cruz, like a perfect person for that role. I mean, obviously the guy's a tremendous basketball player.
He's a tremendous actor and a tremendous basketball player and a tremendous person. He's just the most wonderful, sweet man you can possibly imagine. We auditioned a ton of people. His audition came back. It was decent. He's a ball player. He plays for the Jazz, the Utah Jazz. At the time, he was playing for the Timberwolves, I believe. He is a very famous basketball player in Spain, in particular. He plays on the Spanish national team. He is amazing at basketball, obviously. And Adam really wanted to work with real ball players, which is, I think,
part of the reason he hired me, because I worked with actors who had never acted before in my previous film. And Juancho started working with Noel Gentile, who was our acting coach, who worked with the boys in We the Animals. And you saw after their sessions together that he had this incredible ability to emote in a way that fit the character. He had the anger that we needed. He had the sweetness that we needed. He had the unpredictability and the naturalism that we needed. And it was so clear right away that we sent the audition tapes or the session tapes to the producers and to Adam. And that's when we knew we were a green light to go, because without him, there was no movie.
The issue with the movie, couldn't you have Bo be on any other team than the Celtics?
You know, Adam really wanted him to be on a rival team. And so, you know, that there was like some kind of bittersweetness to the end. And I think that was it was a good move only in that, it doesn't make it so perfect, the move, the finale. What's funny is that he actually was traded from the Timberwolves to the Celtics, and that game in the end is an actual game that Juancho played in with the Celtics against the Sixers. I will say the Celtics won that game as they should have.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm not even a great basketball fan, and I love the movie. So it's about the human spirit. How did you get all the talent, recent and old, and like how did you gather all that talent to show up? I mean, the credits were unbelievable.
Yeah, I Adam is a bit of a basketball legend in some ways because he is such a fan. So that was helpful. We also had an amazing team, a basketball team. We had a guy named Mike Fisher, and he had a team, Oliver and Nicole, and there was Dell Demps, who's a manager and a scout and now a coach for the Utah Jazz. There was Coach Bobby Verdun, who is an amazing basketball aficionado and coach, and he sets up gyms all over the country. They were all working together to find us the best basketball players. That, in combination with Spencer and Zach and LeBron's team, that's a lot of basketball power right there. And so when we would reach out to somebody, there was a lot of people behind it saying, hey. Also, there's a guy named Joe Vesey, who is Adam's producer, one of Adam's producers, who is a street ball guy and played, real street ball back in the day and in Philadelphia. And a lot of those street ball legends that are in the BOA Challenge are from Philadelphia. So we were lucky enough to get them in the film.
Great job. Thank you.
Well, I don't know. Does anyone have any other questions? Well, Jeremiah, thank you so much for your time tonight. I wish you the best success with the film. I hope so many people watch it. And you've mentioned We the Animals many times. We did have a chance to show that at the Ambler Theater back when it was first released. But for anyone here in the audience who hasn't seen that, highly, highly recommend seeing We the Animals.
It's on Netflix and on Hulu, so easy to see. If you have either of one of those. And In a Dream, the first film that lovely man with the beautiful voice mentioned, is on Vimeo, and it's free. Anybody can see it. And go to the Magic Gardens, see my father.
Well, we'll put a link up to In a Dream on our website, and we're so thrilled to have this at the theater on the big screen, and everyone here loved it. Thank you so much, Jeremiah. Have a great night. Best of luck.